Greetings. We are diving into Blender. Go ahead and open it up like I just did. This is the default splash screen. You'll see these new file options here. In general, use general. We'll dive into some of these other ones perhaps later on. Okay. This here is the viewport. This is your scene collection, all the stuff in the scene. You can see this cube we've got here in the middle. Shows up here, so this is a really great reference for users of Photoshop, Illustrator, etc. This is a little bit like layers, not quite. We'll talk about the differences, but you can kind of think of it as that. This is your object properties section here. You can see if you mouse over and you get a little hint here, it says object properties, and in general, this is all the properties of the thing you've selected. We have the cube selected, so you can see cube right here. Okay, pardon me 1 second. I'm just going to turn on shortcut key, screencast keys, and I'll show you why. What screencast keys does is records my mouse actions and also the keyboard keys that I type. This is going to be really useful for you. For instance, if I click the left mouse, you see now I've clicked the left mouse. If I click the right mouse, you see now I've clicked the right mouse. You can also see a little bit of history here, so you can see what I did. And this is the middle mouse click here. I'll also, so let's see. So I just clicked left mouse on this cube and it selected the cube. And one of the first keyboard shortcuts we're going to learn in Blender is the delete keyboard shortcut. And that delete keyboard shortcut is the letter X. And you'll see, notice on the lower right hand side there, a yellow X appeared above the mouse. And you can see it's giving me a little confirmation pop up here to delete. And I am going to go ahead and click on that delete option, and our cube is gone. If by chance you made a mistake, you can do Command Z and it will undo. This is common in most applications. But I'm going to go back and re-delete it. I'm going to hit the X key again and delete it. Again, Command Z will undo, and X, Command deletes. All right, let's go ahead and add, instead of a cube, let's go ahead and add a cylinder. And to do an add, the quickest way to do an add, and we're going to do so many adds, you're really going to want to remember this, is to do Shift A, capital A. Shift A pops up this little menu system here, and we're going to pretty much, for the first week, only pick meshes. We might get into some of these others, but mesh is our first thing to explore, and you're going to see some pretty common primitive shapes here: cylinders, cones, torus, etc. Plane, cube, that was our cube there from before. I'm going to click cylinder. So now we have a cylinder. Let's do Shift A again and add another mesh. This time let's add this cube. That's the cube we had before. You can see now they're layered on top of one another, which is a little bit annoying, but we'll totally figure that out. I hit Shift A again, and let's go ahead and add a cone in. So now we have 3 different shapes. We have a cone, a cube, and a cylinder. These are all meshes. They're made out of polygons, which is why you can think of them as a mesh, just like a mesh cloth. That's a similar metaphor there. And here we have scene collection. Notice your scene, you can see them all here. And when we click on these, camera, cone, cube, cylinder. We'll talk about camera and light later on. Cone, cube, and cylinder, these are our 3 objects. And this scene collection view here is quite useful when you have objects that are overlapping one another, because sometimes it can be a bit finicky to click on the thing that you want. So let's go ahead and move our first item, the cylinder, first. And to do that, the easiest way to do that is to choose the location we want it to be, X, Y, or Z. And let's go ahead and move it 2 meters. You don't have to type the M, you can just type the number 2 on the X and 2 on the Y. And we just moved that cylinder 2 meters this direction and 2 meters this direction, right? 2 meters on the X, 2 meters on the Y. So now let's select our cone, and you can even see the cone in here, right? So it's quite useful, again, to use scene collection view here to select the cone. And what we're going to do is we're going to move the cone -2 meters back on the X. There it is. And negative 2 meters on the y. Check that out. Pretty cool, right? Now we've got our 3 objects. So now you're thinking, well, what if I want to get closer to these, check them out, just kind of understand their spatial relationships better? You can zoom with your mouse button, zooming out. We just zoomed out 4 clicks, zooming in, all the way in. We've zoomed in. The other thing you can do is use this gizmo here to change your view. So let's go ahead and click the Z, and now we have a top-down view. And this kind of view can be quite useful because now we don't have one object kind of occluding the other. We can see them all arranged. So what if you're like, well, I want to get out of this and kind of back to where I was before? The easiest way to do this is to press and hold your middle mouse button. And you can see now you can really navigate around. You're rotating your view around the objects, and it's a really fun way. Feel free to have some fun with that. It's pretty cool. Okay. Now let's say we're zoomed in on this cube, but we want to get over to the cylinder over here, but we can't see it. And if we rotate, we kind of keep rotating around this cube. We're never actually going to get over to the cylinder, really, right? So the thing that you can do to do that is pan. And to pan, you hold the Shift key down along with this middle mouse button. And now you can navigate over to your cylinder and navigate over to your cone. Notice what Blender does a cool thing. Check this out. You can keep on going. You don't have to pick your mouse up and keep smacking it down and scrubbing around and over and stuff. Pretty cool. So just for fun, let's go ahead and put this cylinder on top of this cube, and then put the cone on top of the cylinder. So here's the cylinder. Let's go ahead and now we need to go up, right? We need to raise this up. So we're going to go, let's say 2 up, and now we need to go back to 0 on the x and 0 on the y, right? And that has placed our cylinder exactly on top of our cube. Now, what do you think you would need to do for the cone? The cone is at -2, -2, 0, -2 on the x, -2 on the y, and it's flat right on our surface. It's at 0. I think you know what you need to do. First thing to do would be to raise this up 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. And you'll notice that in this view sometimes, right, you're going to constantly be moving around in order to kind of understand the spatial relationships here. I'm going to pan down a little bit, shift middle mouse, and I'm going to do this. It's like, okay, I'm starting to like get a sense of it. I think my height is correct. But now I need to put this cone in the middle. So I'm going to do 0 on the x, 0 on the y, and there we go. That is your first task right there. Pretty fun, pretty easy, getting really good exercise to get used to how the mouse works and how keyboard shortcuts work. Enjoy.